Hi everyone, I'm Diego Ramirez, and today we'll be going over the Volkswagen Think Small campaign. It is very lengthy and there's a lot to go over, so I will zoom through this for y'all in the interest of time. It all starts with these two ads. These two ads were very influential. They were basically pioneers almost to a creative revolution. There's a lot of information to go into as to why. So, to begin, we're going to zoom through a small history lesson. It all starts back in the 1930s. Ferdinand Porsche was a German engineer who, in 1938, created the first Volkswagen Beetle. Now, he didn't create it on his own accord. He was told to do so by a big fan of cars, Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler wanted Porsche to create a car for the people being the German car. So they created the Volkswagen Beetle in 1938. But if you know a thing or two about history, in 1939, World War II started. Huge bummer. Volkswagen had to take a pause in production, fast forward a little bit, and come the 1950s, war has been over. America's in a golden age. Carl Hahn, the head of Volkswagen at the time, saw this and decided, let's get Americans to buy the Volkswagen Beetle. One issue though, Americans don't want to buy the Führer's car. Who would have thought? Huge issue for Carl Hahn. So he had to take a look at his situation and see that Americans wanted to buy American muscle. They weren't going to trust a foreign, German engineered Volkswagen Beetle that was way uglier than a Detroit American muscle car. As far as Americans were concerned, this was a lemon. Now, you might be wondering, what is a lemon? A lemon is a term that was used for a car that was essentially useless. Commonly, they were used cars, and at the time, US had strict lemon laws, meaning cars had to be of a certain standard to be able to legally be driven on the road. And so America did not trust this foreign car. They did not trust the Führer's car. As far as they were concerned, this ugly little bug of a car was a lemon. So Carl Hahn went to Manhattan and started speaking to a bunch of advertising agencies, and after hating everything that he saw, ended up at DDB, where Bill Bernbach told him straight up, I have nothing to show you. He knew nothing about the Beetle and told him, I don't have any mock-ups to show you right now, but what I can do is show you some of the work that we've done prior. And Carl Hahn enjoyed what he saw because at that time DDB was experimenting more with using creativity in their advertising. So after he liked what he saw, he decided to work with DDB, and once they came to that agreement, Julian Koenig was appointed as the copywriter for this campaign. Julian Koenig was a Jewish ad man, the coiner of Earth Day, and a time salesman. He created the name Earth Day for Earth Day, and some of his most notable work was his work with Timex, where he created the line, "It takes a leaking and keeps on ticking." I also want to mention he was a Jewish ad man, which I thought was beautifully poetic considering that this was a German engineered car which was trying to be sold post World War II. Now, of course, with every copywriter, we need an art director, who was Helmut Krohn. He was a New York ad man, but specifically from a German section of New York. To add to the beautiful poetry of this campaign, we had a German section New York ad man working with a Jewish ad man to sell a German car post World War II. But more importantly about Helmut Krohn, he was a proud number two and the father of Juan Valdez. Now, who's Juan Valdez? Helmut Krohn worked on Café de Colombia and created the persona, the character Juan Valdez, to be sort of to be the name, to be the face for the coffee brand. But more importantly, he was a proud number two. He worked on the Avis car rental campaign, in which they acknowledge, we know we're not the number one company in car rentals, we are number two. And that is why we promise to work very hard to satisfy your needs. Now, what I really think was interesting is that if you look at the Avis ads and then look at the ads that you see with Think Small, there is a lot of similar style and flow. Just goes to show that Helmut Crone knew what he was doing and had a real special kind of sauce to him. So, these two men had to work together, and the process was interesting. At the time, ads were using a overload of information and were talking down to consumers. Ads for cars at the time were all telling consumers, you have to drive this car to be this cool. And there just wasn't a lot of creativity use. Krohn and Koenig wanted to challenge this status quo. That status quo being this. All these ads are illustrations of mom and pop in a driveway at the beach in this beautiful American car, saying that this car is going to make you the coolest kid on the street, you're going to drive fast. They weren't really respecting the consumer. They weren't using creativity, they weren't speaking honestly. It was all just big flashy talk. So these two men worked together and then created these pieces right here in 1959. These pieces right here changed the game. These pieces basically were huge pioneers almost in a creative revolution. They look super simple, but there's a lot to talk about here. Self-deprecation, the use of black and white, a full stop, a sans serif font, wonky paragraph, and car photography. What I really want to talk about more than anything is the use of self-deprecation and the use of the full stop. The full stop being a one word or small phrase with a period at the end. At the time, a lot of ads headlines were sentences that egged on the reader to keep on reading. The full stop, it made the reader think, huh, what? You're just gonna use one word, that's it? Okay, you have my attention, I'll keep reading. That was uncommon, so that gave the ad a lot of attention. And now, more importantly than this full stop was the use of self-deprecation. As I mentioned, ads at that time were all about, this car is the best car. This car is gonna make you look so cool. This car is gonna make you classy. Now, instead, Volkswagen and DDB were like, no, look, we get it. This is a small car. It's not pretty looking, but it's reliable. I can promise you that. You're not gonna look the coolest, but you're gonna get there, and you're gonna get there safe and sound, and you'll never have to worry about your car breaking down and needing oil changes all the time. And this worked out beautifully for Volkswagen. This use of honesty built a reputation of sincerity with the Volkswagen Beetle. And sure enough, you see this use of sincerity and honesty throughout all of their ads. In the interest of time, I will just quickly go through these, but you'll notice that a lot of their headlines are basically Volkswagen insulting themselves. Live below your means. It's ugly, but it gets you there. What this did was Volkswagen built a reputation of honesty, sincerity, and more importantly, respect for the consumer. Instead of telling the consumer, buy us if you want to be cool. If you don't buy us, you're not cool. They told the consumer, hey, look, we know what you need. We know you need a reliable car to get to work, something just to whip around the town, just to get your deeds done. We're the car for you. They were honest, and the people liked it. So how did this work out for Volkswagen? Well, America ended up becoming one of Volkswagen's biggest consumer bases. And to this day, we still are. America is still one of Volkswagen's biggest consumer bases. But what's really important about this campaign is it created a creative revolution. They told advertisers, creativity is king and clever honesty is queen. We no longer have to tell people this car is the fastest and gonna make you the classiest. Instead, you can have a conversation with the consumer using a tone of voice rather than a unique selling proposition. Be honest and people will listen. Pay attention to how people want to be talked to, and just be weird and creative and clever with your selling. And that's all you gotta do. You don't gotta tell people we're the fastest, and people will listen. Also, photography started to be used. Not as big of a deal as the creativity, but a nice fun little thing. So, thanks to Volkswagen, Creativity is big now, and we have a creative portfolio campaign here in school. Thank you.